All right, here we go with the first topic on Her Way. I'm Angeletta Vilas, and for today, I feel like talking about something that may be a sticky topic for some people, and this is firearms. I figured since Vice President Kamala Harris brought it up a few times in the last few weeks, first during the presidential debate, and then again during her interview with Oprah Winfrey, I figured why not keep talking about it? After all, the right to bear arms is something more and more women are actually talking about. Whether they have become passionate about gun safety or gun control laws due to being directly impacted or in the fear for their children being a victim of school shootings, while others, it's a result from the rise of female empowerment or independence and taking matters into their own hands when it comes to self-defense. Kamala Harris, she claims she's a gun owner. Whether you believe it to be true or not is not what I want to discuss today. At first, I was skeptical, thinking this was her way of pandering to a specific audience. But in all honesty, it's very likely that she does own a firearm. Like, hear me out here. Back in 1980, only 10% of women owned a firearm. And as of today, approximately 25% of women in the US own a firearm, with a 13% increase since 2022, most likely because of the Supreme Court's Bruin decision back in 2022. And during this whole same time frame, gun ownership among men have remained steady at around 40%. In a nutshell, us ladies are the fastest growing demographic group of gun owners. With the news of mass shootings and the demand for stricter gun control, you would think these stats would be the opposite. So the question is, why are so many women purchasing firearms? Let me share with you some of the reasons behind it. First, studies have shown that a desire for empowerment and self-defense plays a significant role in women's decisions to arm themselves. According to Pew Research, women cite protection as the top reason they own a gun. In fact, they cite this reason more than men as the only reason to own a gun compared to recreation. Secondly, shifting gender norms have impacted gun ownership among women. Women are no longer confined to traditional gender roles, and as such are embracing activities that were historically associated with masculinity. And this includes owning firearms. And let me throw in there also owning and riding motorcycles. I threw that in there because as you get to know me, you'll find out I really enjoy all things motorcycles. But anyways, let me get back to the story. Let me add that according to research by Morgan Stanley, it is predicted that 45% of prime working age women will be single by 2030. That means that personal protection, the protection of property and family can no longer be assumed to be male-dominated roles. And lastly, there's the influence of media, including social media platforms and pop culture, that can't be ignored. Women are hearing stories of other women successfully defending themselves with firearms, whether through the news or social media. And then we are seeing more strong and independent female characters in films, which has shaped the perception of gun ownership among women. Now let's revisit this part when Kamala Harris talks about owning a gun with Oprah Winfrey last week, which is what people are still talking about today.
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun.
I did not know that.
If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yes, I hear that. I hear that.
Probably should not have said that.
But
my staff will deal with that later.
Yeah.
So some will say that this comes across as a very candid moment for Harris, while others will say she was trying too hard to appease to a certain group and got a little flustered. However, there are some that have also criticized her for flip-flopping on the issue and are turning away from her base. I do, however, question why she is laughing about such a sensitive topic for so many. I don't think it's a laughing matter. Guns are a very serious topic, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. But I have to be honest here. I think her bringing up the fact that she owns a gun is very strategic. You know, when she did it during the debate and with Oprah, I believe it's her way to continue the conversation or establish a narrative that, hey, I support the Second Amendment. I don't want to take your guns away, except for those big ones, you know, the AK-47s or AR-15s. And that right there is something that I have seen as a growing common ground perspective from both gun owners and those advocating for gun control. Let's face it, gun owners are not limited to Republicans. Many people who identify as Democrat or independent are legal gun owners themselves, 20% and 32% respectively, and Republicans at 45%. And many of those gun owners will agree with having some additional safety measures, which is, you know, where things definitely get a little sticky. However, the one thing that people are missing out on Harris's remarks is this.
If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yes, I hear that. I hear that.
This is where I get a bit confused. Knowing how much Democrats debate against stand your ground laws or the castle doctrine, I feel like making this remark is telling people, hey, Democrats are against stand your ground laws and the castle doctrine, unless it's Kamala Harris shooting some home invader. I'm not going to go into the details of the difference between stand your ground, the castle doctrine, which is protecting yourself in your home, or duty to retreat, because it's easily available online and you can find out the variations each state has in place. But let's just say in a very left-leaning state like Maryland, where I used to live until a few weeks ago, the practice is duty to retreat. So by law, if you legally own a gun or have a concealed carry permit, the law requires you to attempt to retreat from a threatening situation before using force. And many will argue that this is a very flawed law, because then what is the purpose of owning a gun if you can't immediately use it to protect yourself if you truly feel that your life is in jeopardy? And we've seen several cases in which homeowners were convicted of injuring or killing an intruder in these so-called duty to retreat states, while it's quite the opposite in other states. So the discussion that needs to be had is, where do Democrats really stand on this issue, specifically Kamala Harris, since she's the one running for the presidency and she brought it up. Not on the issue of banning certain guns, because that's a whole nother, topic for another day. But where does she stand on this issue of stand your ground? As of right now, all I could find was an interview that she did back in May of 2020 with the organization called Everytown for Gun Safety. Here's what she said.
These stand your ground laws and these states that have these citizen arrest laws have often and frequently been used as an excuse, if not a cover, for people who are motivated by racism and racial profiling. And so we have seen that, and we have seen that it has been used as an excuse to kill Black and brown people, in particular Black and brown young men. And we just have to speak truth about that, no matter how uncomfortable it makes us.
So there you have it. I leave it up to you to discuss further without tearing each other apart in the comment section. Where do you stand on stand your ground or the castle doctrine or duty to retreat laws? In the meantime, I end it with this. Gun ownership and the Second Amendment is very much an American thing. And it's obvious Harris is working hard to appeal to voters in the middle, whether they own firearms or not, but are open to common ground solutions on gun safety. But one thing I do believe is this: as much as you create laws with the best intentions at heart, those who choose not to abide by any gun laws, those criminals, something I've covered quite a bit at WBAL Radio in Baltimore, those who don't abide by gun laws will find a way to obtain one, thus making certain gun laws pointless.